Hello, everybody. This is David Mixner. I hope you had a great summer and a great Labor Day weekend. I sure did. It's good to be back with you. Don't let the title panic you. I have a right to die. I'm not planning to check out in the next near future. But as I get 77, and as I get older, and I've had a great deal of illness, this thought has been on my mind, and I have thought it through, and I wanted to share some thoughts with you because, like everything else I've done in life, I hope I can create change and restore some dignity and integrity and honesty and some personal choice in the right to die. You know, just like the right to life, it's about controlling my own body and making my own decisions. So I feel very strongly and believe very strongly in euthanasia. I believe I only have the right to make the decision to die. Even if I don't consciously make a decision to die, the process of dying will take place anyhow. And it's just a question of how long, how painful, how depressing, what all the issues are. So by default, I will still make that decision. What I believe in deeply is that I have a right and a deep personal need to analyze the information that I have and be able to make a personal decision on how and when I want to die. Now, I want to stress that euthanasia is different from suicide. Suicide is seen as a desperate act, often coming out of mental challenges, depression, or people feeling there's a lack of options. Excuse me. Euthanasia is an informed decision based on information gathered from your medical history, your medical advisors, those close around you, and dealing with quality of life and what is the appropriate decision for you to make in order to ensure that this part of my journey is made with dignity and integrity and informed consent. I can't tell you how strongly I feel this is my personal decision. Now, right now, it's almost impossible in the United States, with a few states that have recognized euthanasia finally, but have put so many conditions and so many rules that it, in essence, removes that choice. I mean, as I say, you almost have to have one leg removed and your heart in bad condition and blind and in deep depression before you can use euthanasia in this country. Holland and Switzerland have a more enlightened policy, but still not as liberal as I would like to see it. You know, I'm an adult. I'm 77 years old, and I make decisions about my life every day. Especially in my case, I've had an amazing life, an extraordinary life, a blessed life, filled with wonderful people, filled with wonderful moments, and even defeats that have turned out to be very important parts of my learning process of my journey. But what I don't lack at this stage is knowledge and information about my journey and where I'm at in that journey. You know, I think it's very important for me to take that information and decide what is a quality of life that I am willing to struggle through. Now, make me clear, I don't take it lightly. The last 14 years, I have been in intensive care 8 times, all for different things, or mostly different things. I have really been in very, very critical condition about 4 of those times where it was touch and go. But each of those times, I made a personal decision to come out of those moments, and some of the most difficult moments, including a sepsis shock to my entire body, which I can even begin to describe, and a bout with long-term COVID that lasted for 18 months, which perhaps was the most painful, difficult, and physically and mentally challenging experience that I've had so far in my life, was long-term COVID. So I know that I want to live. I know that I came out of each of those episodes not as a victim, but determined to find out what I was capable of doing instead of dwelling on what I was not capable of doing. So in that process, in those 14 years, I did 4 off-Broadway shows. I gave many speeches. I raised a lot of money for homeless LGBTQ plus youth. I've been an active participant in the rainbow community and in politics. I'm very, very proud of what I've done, facing the mental and physical challenges that I did. But as I go through each of these moments, my body becomes weaker. Now, up here, I think I'm 21. I think I could jump right now out of this chair and go a good boxing round with a hot man, or maybe just hot sex with a hot man. But I know that I'm becoming less mobile, and I require help and assistance in my mobility these days. I know my lungs are more and more difficult. I know that I still have side effects, probably neurological, from long-term COVID. I know that I could sleep almost 18 hours a day now. I'm so weak. And I know that the choices and the options I have are not nil, but smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, you have to work harder to have a great quality of life when you have fewer options. And I am. I'm trying to take advantage of those options. I'm trying to take advantage of those choices. But increasingly, I am aware that those options and choices are going to cross. And it's going to be much more negative in my life and much more than positive, and perhaps dramatically so. And then when you cross that 50% mark into 60, 70, 80, I think it's reasonable to have a thoughtful discussion with myself about my quality of life. I don't think I should have to be incapacitated in an arm lung or have legs amputated in order to make a decision that it's time to move on. Now, I'm a very spiritual person. I believe in nature. I believe in the planetary system. I mean, hell, when I grew up, there were 9 planets. Now there's 1 billion or more solar systems. I like to believe that upon making a transition in this life, that maybe we'll zapped up to one of those billion solar planets. It's certainly as possible as anything else. But even if my ashes are just used in some symbolic way or put around their tree to help it grow, that is the continuance. That is me continuing to exist. So I want the right to die with dignity. I want to make that my choice, not yours. None of you have a vote. God knows I've listened to you all. Perhaps one of the biggest curses people say to me, you're going to live to be 100. Oh, God, please, no. Please don't curse me that way. I have no desire to live what I know what 100 would mean to me. It would be no life at all. It would be a birthday cake once a year and everyone telling me how wonderful I am, and that's not my idea of life. And I find my life getting narrower. I see fewer people, see them less often. I'm less mobile. I'm not depressed. I'm in pretty good damn spirits, actually. It's harder for me to write because of the long-term COVID, though most of the brain fog has lifted, but not completely. It's hard for me to focus. I do think slower. And so I'm not as able to travel with as much options as I have, though I have been to Mexico and Amsterdam and Rehoboth Beach and Dubai. It's not like I have rested on my laurels. I push myself, and I like pushing myself, and I feel very proud when I have those small victories for myself. But I don't want to get to a point where I'm sitting back in that chair and the only thing I'm capable of doing is watching television or sleeping. Now, I love reading, and I've been reading a book a week recently, and that's just heaven. But I want the right when I feel that my quality of life in every aspect, physically, mentally, but also what my day-to-day existence is like and how many of my wonderful friends I'm seeing at a time and what any small contributions I can make. Right now, I feel one of the biggest contributions is talking this issue as I go through it over the next months, maybe years, about the right to die and how we treat our senior citizens. Do you know that almost a third of our Medicare costs come from keeping terminally ill people alive? Now, I support anyone demanding medicine, treatment, care, who want to hold out to the last moment and go through hospital care. I think that that's their choice. It's similar to I support anyone who chooses not to have an abortion. I support anyone who chooses to have a bigger family. But that's their choice. That's their choice. And by making those decisions, they're making lifelong decisions, very serious ones, whether to have a child or not. Not only for themselves, but for the child. I'm in a blessed position. I don't really have any family left. I have a brother and a few nephews and nieces, but it's not easy to spend quality time with them, given my health. And right now, say I made a decision in 6 months that I was ready, happy, content, proud of having an extraordinary life journey. Don't even really, my 2 bucket lists I have had are totally fulfilled. I'd have to write a 3rd bucket list. I don't know of anyone that can talk with more assurance and more honesty about what an extraordinarily wonderful life I've had. But what I would like to be able to make a decision that it's time to move on to the transition. Socrates said to Plato that death is just nothing more like life, a journey into the unknown. Every day we get up, we don't know what today holds for us. Even if it's dark and challenging, I always look for the moments of joy. But I would like to be able to die with dignity. I'd like to make an informed decision. And quite honestly, I'd like to have a couple of my friends with me as I make that transition. I don't want to be alone. And I'm terrified that if I do with a Rube Goldberg concoction of trying to find something that is a reasonable way to make the transition alone, that I'll end up a vegetable. Why not allow me to make that decision and allow the medical community or some sort of community to guarantee that that transition is made with dignity and not painful and not long-term implications, to have those that I love surrounding me, holding my hand and seeing the smile on my face as I wait for them to join me. I think it's a wonderful thing and a choice to make. And I want to make that choice. I want to be the one to make that choice. Now in this country, even the people who would be with me holding my hands could face felony for assisted homicide in most states. So the way it works now, I would have to do it alone, run the risk that I would fail at the attempt of euthanasia, that I would be permanently incapacitated, and a burden on the society and the Medicare system, instead of a exciting transition as I have lived my life with those that I have loved, pioneering new ground for all of you and letting you know about that journey. So I asked you to think and to enter into dialogue with me if you'd like. We'll get plenty of time for dialogue. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to go out of here and take a vial of G and drink a keg of scotch and be here on a meth pipe while someone's giving me oral sex. That's not going to happen in the near future, so don't worry. But if you do see me having that in some week, it's close. But I'd like to continue this dialogue with you. I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear your comments on what you think is ahead after we make that transition. I'd like to hear your comments how you would like to die. I would like to hear your comments, and I'd like your advice on what you would say to me as I say I have a right to die with dignity and integrity in exactly the way I lived my life. Please subscribe. It seriously helps me. Just push that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a goddamn cent. And please know that I am as happy as I can be. This is not a thing made out of depression or despair or hopelessness. Just the opposite. I've waited to do this till I feel really happy with what's happening in my life. I love you all. Peace.